Off of McGee, though, a guy that had fallen out of the rotation and we hadn't really seen in meaningful minutes, I guess you'd put it, in a long time, is Davion Mitchell. We saw Davion Mitchell come out against the Clippers on Tuesday. They needed a defensive presence out on the perimeter. Mike Brown's talking about the team not putting the focus on the defensive end and focusing too much and fixating too much on the offensive end. Putting Davion Mitchell was a nice potential remedy to that, or getting things on the right track. But watching Davion Mitchell in one game, granted, it was kind of one of those things where you're like, oh, okay, he's still a good defender with not much on offense. And he seems to be cementing himself in that spot. Maybe that doesn't matter too much. Maybe Keon Ellis is the guy there going forward. That could easily be true. But if you start talking about Davion Mitchell in that context, then you start talking about trading him. But I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago, and they were a big Knicks fan, and I was talking about the Kings, and they're like, well, what do you think is the trade that the Kings would have to make to put them in a championship contention? Obviously, I brought up OG Anunoby. That's the common one. And he was talking about, well, what would it take to get Anunoby? And I was talking about picks and all this stuff, and I was like, I think that if you threw in Davion Mitchell or something like that, maybe you could have a little bit of intrigue added to the package. And he kind of looked at me, and he's like, yeah, but how much is Davion Mitchell really going to affect that trade package? And I'm like, yeah, probably not at all. And I feel like that's kind of the case. I mean, how much would he affect a trade package's value?
Very little.
Because think about it this way. We were talking, I said, maybe Davion Mitchell just needs to have a starting job somewhere and go compete and build confidence on both ends of the floor, build a rhythm, figure out something new, get a new home, kind of get a fresh restart. And he's like, well, what team would he start on? And we started going through the teams, some of the worst teams in the league, some mid-level teams in the league. It's hard to find where he would start, and the lack of offense does not help.
Yeah, Mitchell had his peak value at the end of his rookie year when Fox went out and he kind of took over the primary starting point guard role to end the season out, and actually did fairly well. He just never really has lived up to that level of play since. It's kind of weird. He seemed like he had something going on offense. His 3-point shot's not the greatest. He can improve a little. He has a quick first step. He has a decent mid-range. But everything just seems to be gone now. And considering he's not even the backup point guard anymore, he lost it to an undrafted guy who spent most of last year in the G League. I mean, it's just, what value does he have, really? I mean, maybe at the start of the season. It's just going down every game he doesn't play nowadays. We used to talk about Davion like a decent asset. Now, I mean, his value has just absolutely plummeted. I don't think he's worth much anymore. It wouldn't even be like the big part of a trade anymore. But yeah, Kings trading Davion Mitchell. It's almost like when we got Jeremy Lamb and that Sabonis trade of that Justin Holiday. It's like, oh, yeah, we got him in it too, but we don't really care.
I mean, to be fair to Davion, it'd be a little better for a team to receive Davion than an old Jeremy Lamb or a Justin Holiday. Because I'm sure there are teams that look at Davion Mitchell and go, okay, we could really work with that. But the question, and you answered it well, about value, it doesn't have a lot of market value. There's no pull there. So Davion Mitchell seems to have kind of put the finishing touches on the book on him. At least for now. I mean, he can develop more of an offensive game down the road. But right now, the book is out on him being just a defender with no offense. And that has value, but nowhere near the value that some Kings fans thought of Davion Mitchell, rightfully so early on, and sometimes still think of unjustifiably so in regards to Davion Mitchell. But definitely something that's interesting, kind of coming up. Seeing him last night, It's just like...
I know. I'm like, okay, he's finally getting another chance. And just like...
Yeah, and remember he came in that Portland game, I think after Keon Ellis had sprained his ankle, or was that before?
No, I thought the Portland game was when he lost the starting job role while Fox was out.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Fox was still out. That's right.
And so Davion went from starting to being off the bench. And he had a great game.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting to. Thanks for clearing that up.
Of course.
So, we've seen him come in and, do that, and I was kind of expecting something similar to that. Like, okay, here comes Davion. Don't hold back. The gates are open. Go get him, cowboy. And it was just more of the same. So, like I said, Davion Mitchell is cementing himself as the guy. It doesn't have a lot of value in a trade package, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.